This is Local 3 News at 4.
And the news continues at 4:30 with a special guest. Hamilton County Superintendent Dr. Justin Robertson is here, and we want to thank you for taking time out on the day before students return to class. It's a busy time for you.
It is. Appreciate you having us on, and we're excited about tomorrow.
Well, let's talk about something a lot of parents have uppermost in their minds. We've been hearing headlines over the last few months that there will be security officers or resource officers in every public school. Is that true in Hamilton County?
It is. So we actually had this last year, a combination of SROs from Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, a couple from City of Chattanooga, and then we had what we call student safety officers that really handled most of our elementary schools. What's different about this year and is helpful is the new grant coming from the state. It's going to allow the Sheriff's Office to up the number of SROs that they have, and also hopefully a couple of municipalities will step in and provide some officers as well.
Oh, that's a big improvement. All right, we're going to talk about facilities, and I know you've got a plan that's yet to be announced, I think next week. But just in advance of that, there's been talk, whispers, rumblings over the years about some schools consolidating, as has happened in the past, the need for some new facilities here and there to replace some aging buildings. What can you tell us ahead of the big announcement?
Well, next Thursday, Mayor Wapp and I, along with that committee, will announce some recommendations. From there, we still need to get some input from the community, from the school board, county commission. But what I've consistently said for a year and a half in this job is it's not going to be one strategy. We can't build our way out of this issue, and we can't just consolidate. So it's got to be a number of strategies that take place to deal with this. What I will say is in Hamilton County, we've got to be more aggressive in lowering the number of schools that we have.
And we're looking at a list there on the screen, or we did just a moment ago. Tyner was right at the top, and of course that's under construction. As we begin this new school year, what will classes be like for the students at Tyner High and Middle?
Yeah, it really shouldn't change much for them. The construction is taking place on the old football stadium, so what will change is the football team is having to look at other places to play their home games, but traffic should flow really well, and classes should go on as they have the past several years.
And our target for the new facilities being finished there?
Yeah, we're hopeful that the middle of next year is when it should be, and then we'll have to phase it in, so they'll tear some portions of the existing building down to put parking and things like that.
Can't wait to see it. Two of the highest scoring schools in Hamilton County, as long as I remember, are CSAS and the Normal Park schools. Very successful schools in maybe the two oldest facilities in the county. Is that something in the long-range plans?
I think it's definitely something that we've got to address in the long-range plans. And when I say long-range, I'm talking about the next 5 to 7 years or so. I don't think it's something that we can address immediately, and probably not something in this first phase of recommendations, but it's certainly something that we need to address moving forward.
And you said in a speech a few days ago something that surprised me a little bit. And I want to touch on teacher pay a little bit because historically teacher pay here and in our surrounding counties has been less than it should be. Thankfully, there have been some decent pay raises in recent years that have brought the starting salary and the average salary to a more reasonable level. Yet you said in the speech that teacher morale is low, and I think you pointed to some surveys that have shown that. Yeah. What are they upset about?
Well, I think it's a hard time to be a teacher. Over the past several years, they've come under more scrutiny. There's been more focus on teachers, and so it's been difficult. They taught through a pandemic, not just virtually, but some of them were doing virtual and in person. So it's been a hard time to be a teacher. I think that as a community, we need to rally behind teachers and continue to elevate that profession to the regards that it used to be. What I will say is that we're committed to improving morale. It's not just through pay, it's also through working conditions, which we've put in this new budget, almost $30 million more directly into schools for additional school staffing. So the majority of our schools, even though they may not have every position filled, will have more adults in the building this year than they did last year.
And you all seem to be focusing on addressing the emotional needs of students, which frankly in past years went pretty much unaddressed in many schools.
Yeah, what we believe, our theory of action, that if we take care of kids and if our kids are well, then they will perform better. And so a lot of the investments that we've made have been around student wellness and making sure really that they're connecting. Hopefully what you'll hear a lot this year is that word connect. We want kids to be able to connect to each other well, connect to their teachers well, and then connect to this community.
In looking back, say 10, 12 years, it seemed as though Hamilton County was focusing largely on preparing kids for college. Nothing wrong with that, but it seems like we didn't focus as much on vocational skills as we did in the past. Now I'm seeing the e-labs pop up all over the county. I'm seeing plans for new vocational facility there at the Golden Gateway, among others. Are we shifting our focus a little bit? Is school going to be different for the next generation of high schoolers?
I think we're balancing our focus. I think what we tend to do in education is sometimes shift too far one way or the other. And I would say that our focus on college going actually goes back 20 years. And what we're trying to do is show kids that there are options, that if we can be intentional about creating these opportunities, showing them what their access points are to them, that they can see there are a lot of options to make a real thriving wage in this community.
And finally, every few years, Hamilton County seems to have a target plan for 5, 6, 7 years down the road. And I've watched a lot of these, and some of them have come to fruition, some of the plans not so much. Opportunity 2030 is the big buzzword right now. We have about a minute left. Tell me why parents should be excited about that.
Well, what we want to do and what we've learned is that we want to create opportunities, but more than anything, we have to create opportunities by design. We have to be intentional about those opportunities. And so we have 5 commitments. Of course, one around every student learns, but we also have one about every student belongs. And recognizing our community different, saying that every school needs to be equipped, every community needs to be served. And then going back to the teachers, we want to value our employees, so every employee valued.
All right, one promise I can make you, as the school patrol guy, I get a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls. You're going to be hearing from me a lot.
Yes.
And you're ready for that, I guess.
You've got my cell number.
I do. You're looking forward to every time you see my name, you're like, oh boy, there it is. Well, I appreciate your openness and your willingness to come see us today.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Let's wish you a very happy, successful, and safe school year.
Thank you.
Dr. Justin Robertson with Hamilton County Schools.